Broncos country, we're live. Welcome into the Broncos Breakdown by Chat Sports. My name is Moose. Welcome into our live edition, which airs every single Tuesday at 4 p.m. Central Time, 3 p.m. Mountain Time. Now, before we get into our actual build-up, we do have some breaking news. It has just been announced that Demaryius Thomas has been elected into the Broncos Ring of Fame. This is important because obviously a Broncos legend who ranked in the top 3 in almost every statistical category for Broncos wide receivers is now joining all of the Broncos legends in the Ring of Fame. And obviously we know that his death was not only incredibly tragic, but way, way too young. So before we get started, spam those 88s in the chat for me. Let's show some love to our guy, DT. Let's show some love to our guy, DT. Start spamming those 88s in the chat below. I do want to also say I've been having Wi-Fi issues the entire day with, a bunch of different problems. Like right now I'm seeing a black screen on my monitor. So you guys bear with me in this live edition because right now I have no idea what the issue is. I've tried so many different things and so many different ways to make sure that this gets resolved, and for whatever reason, it's just not happening. So spam those 88s. I'm going to try and get you guys back loaded up here. For whatever reason, I think it's this part of the office. I just cannot get a good Wi-Fi signal. There we go. We're finally back. Good God. Good God. All right, there we go. We got a bunch of people now spamming those 88s. Dr. Carnage spamming those 88s. Chris spamming those 88s. James, what's up? Spamming those 88s. UMC Smoke spamming those 88s. Man, I was so sad to see that he had passed. That seizure disorder that he deals with, or dealt with, I should say, was just something that, it's such an unfortunate circumstance to be born with something like that. I couldn't imagine what his family felt, but a Broncos legend nonetheless. Keep spamming those 88s. Dylan, I'm struggling right now trying to get this loaded up. For whatever reason, I just cannot. I can't get it. I don't know what's going on with my Wi-Fi, but something is going on, and I might have to just do this from my phone. One second, everybody. I apologize. It's my computer specifically. There's nothing wrong with my phone Wi-Fi, and there's nothing wrong with with Dylan's Wi-Fi. It says we're connected, but for whatever reason, I'm having some severe difficulty here getting connected to our live stream. And it's been happening for the last 5 days with my computer specifically, so I can't tell you what the actual issue is. I'm going to bring this up on my phone until we get this resolved, just so I can actually, Dylan, if you want to take this and start giving some shout-outs to people in the chat below while I try and get this sorted out.
Yeah, we got we got Cooper in here, Jacob Smith. Who else do we got? Keep spamming those 88s. Darius Buckner, I see you. We got LT Dan's Ice Cream, Dr. Carnage, UMC Smoke, ENB0E, Shark Attack Zach, that's a cool name. Michael Pack saying RIP 88, keep getting those 88s in the chat. Torin with the W.
Oh man, oh man, oh man. All right, I can't get it on my phone either. So something's going up with my connection specifically back here. Maybe it's my internet provider. I have AT&T. I don't know what you have. You have Verizon? Well, I know that Verizon usually gets good service anywhere. For whatever reason, something's not working for me. So we're going to try and figure it out. Bear with me this episode, guys. I appreciate it. Your end is fine, so I'm going to give you... There's no issue with us actually getting... actual content to you and actually doing the show, but my ability to see what you're saying or to answer a super chat might be completely, up in the air at this point. As of right now, it looks like it's working, but it's continually cutting in and out all the time. So one of the things that I wanted to do before we get into our segment, just to have a little bit of fun, I just want you guys to get to know me better, the host and the person, because obviously now that PD has moved on from Chat Sports, his last day was on Friday, it's now my job to entertain and to inform you guys. And one of the things that I love to do as a person is to do impressions. I walk around my house all day long. I have just enough voices inside my head to keep me from being completely sane. So I just walk around the house with my brother doing different impressions. And one of the things that I've got up here for you is a wheel of impressions that Mr. Dylan, producer on the ones and twos today, has done it so kindly built for me. So we're going to give it a quick spin here as we get disconnected once again. Plankton. All right, sweet. So obviously we see a bunch of those on there. Let's see if Plankton's been one that I've been kind of working on. Let's see if I can get it here. Hey, Krabs, how about you give me that secret formula? How was that, Dilly? What do you think? Is it actually pretty good, or are you just saying that? You just blowing smoke up my ass?
I'd give it like a 6, 7.
That's not bad. I'll take that. Like I said, it's one of the newer ones that I've been trying to work on. But hey, you got to have at least a couple in your arsenal. You can't just be a one-trick pony, especially when it comes to impressions. Again, I'm going to try one more time here to make sure that my internet gets connected again, and we'll figure this out as we go along. Again, I apologize, guys. This is not the best start to everything that I'm sure you wanted, but we're going to figure it out. It's loading back up. What a day it's been. What a day it's been. All right, we've got 40 people watching right now. Make sure that you ask your questions. Get your super chats in as well to get in on our Broncos mailbag, which will be our third little segment coming up here as we get along with the live show. So if you have a question that you want to be featured on our mailbag, has to use hashtag Broncos or super chat. Super chat skips the line completely. Jacob said you got to get more deep. Yeah, I think that's the problem. It's something that I have to get like in the back of my throat, giggity. But I'm working on it. Like I said, I'm working on it. It's one of the newer ones. I was hoping it would be another one, Dylan, but that's okay. The wheel taketh and the wheel giveth away. So make sure you get your questions in before we get into our mailbag, hashtag Broncos, or super chat to skip the line. Thank you guys so much for joining me. By the way, this was gifted to me. You guys remember this bad boy? Let's put this on. Oh, actually, I have to take off my headphones. What am I doing? What am I doing? Booyah. Look at that. I do look like one of the people from Monsters Inc. Check the Broncos logo on the side. That's awesome. Those are going to be back. We will bring those back eventually for our watch parties. I'm going to load up here one more time, Dylan, here. If you want to keep giving some shout outs while I try to figure this out real quick.
So if you guys want to go ahead and get featured on the show, please go ahead, ask your questions, or super chat, as we have Timon saying, "What up, Trace?"
What up, Ty-Man? Good to see you, buddy. Ty-Man's a real one. Ty-Man is always tuning into our live streams here. Okay, there we go. I'm back on.
It's a really good question, Jackson.
That is a great question, Jackson. Appreciate that. 5 interesting facts about me. We will obviously answer that in the mailbag as we go along. All right, Mr. Dillon, I don't want to waste any more of their time. We've got about 10 minutes of me just trying to make sure that my Wi-Fi looks good. So why don't we get into our 3 upcoming segments that we're going to be talking about. So obviously Broncos OTA starts today. You guys know this. And there's no word yet on what day the media is going to be allowed in to report back to us and get us more information. So I thought it would be the appropriate time to talk about the position battles going into OTAs and what we can expect to see from that standpoint as we go through the next 3 days in Broncos OTAs. Then some final free agent targets that potentially the Broncos could end up signing. And then, of course, our mailbag, where you should use hashtag Broncos or Super Chat. My chat disconnected one more time. It's not working on my phone either, Dylan. So I'm going to try and do one more thing for my phone here before we get started. If this doesn't work, I'm just going to have to go into it blind. I apologize, guys. Like I said, we'll try and get this figured out. There's something wrong with my computer, obviously. I have no idea what it is and why it takes so long for me to... There we go. Hold on. Hey! We're back in. All right, hold on. This should be good. Okay. So we're fine for now, Dylan. I've got it pulled up on my phone. So that's the good news. So I will be able to see it live. We'll try and work on the chat as we go along here. But, gosh, it's just so frustrating. It's so frustrating dealing with technology issues. All right. Let's get into our first one, which is all about position battles during 2025 OTAs. Welcome in Broncos country to the Broncos Breakdown by Chat Sports. My name is Moose, and today is officially the day. At the time of this recording, Broncos OTAs has officially started. Now, during OTAs, you should be seeing some head-to-head matchups between players who could be potentially fighting for a starting spot or giving up their starting spot going into the 2025 season. It should be important to note that none of this is etched in stone, by the way. So whatever you see throughout OTAs is not necessarily what's going to translate onto the field in 2025. It should just give us a rough guide, an outlook, a blueprint's not the right word, but a rough draft, so to speak, of what we could potentially be seeing come the starting lineup week 1 against the Tennessee Titans. Now, our first defensive or position battle, it's really the first battle itself, is Jahdae Barron and Jaquan McMillan for that nickel cornerback spot. Now, when you take somebody who is a true nickel corner with the first round pick, which we did with Jahdae Barron, it should be pretty much without said that the plan for him is going to be starting week 1. Is it not? And if it isn't week 1, it's got to be within the first 3 weeks. Now, looking at this Broncos defensive back depth chart, I think we're one of the best in the NFL. And I don't think that's much of a stretch to say. All of these players can play. And signing Talanoa Hufanga, a player with injury, just adds an extra element to this defensive secondary, especially in the safety department. But we want to focus specifically on the cornerbacks right now. Nobody is taking Pat Surtain's job, so get that out of your head. The real question now becomes, does Jahdae move outside to cornerback 2 and replace Riley Moss? Or does he replace Jaquan McMillan at the nickel cornerback slot? So The Athletic wrote an article talking about these positional battles. And here's what they specifically had to say about Jahdae Barron and his position on the field. Will first-round pick Jahdae Barron unseat Jaquan McMillan as the team's nickel corner? Or will he find his way into an outside corner role, pushing Riley Moss? So really, this isn't about Riley Moss's ability to play the position. We've already seen what he's capable and not capable of. This really comes down to, at least in my opinion, the pros and cons list of Jahdae Barron and what Jahdae Barron brings to the table. Now, we have talked ad nauseum about him, the player. And until we actually get an idea of what he can do on the field in the NFL, we can only speculate and go off of what his draft profile tells us. So what are the pros and cons about Jahdae? Well, he's unbelievably versatile, and he can play multiple positions in the defensive backfield. He's got good finishing ability in open field and open space. So when he gets one-on-one, he's not going to, have many broken ankles when he's going up against somebody with the ball. He's got great instincts and ball skill awareness. So kind of that ball hawk mentality that you're looking for from a defensive back. What are some of the cons? There's really not many, and the ones that I actually found were more so his lack of experience in man coverage, so he had limited exposure to that when he was playing at Texas. He's got some shorter arm length, which, again, I know all the draft analysts love that. I think it's kind of stupid that they list that as a con. But also, this one is probably another one that I would say that there's some credibility to. The average recovery ability when he's beat. So when a defender does beat him off the jump, if he's playing press coverage, his ability to catch up into the route is just average at best. But I could say, for the most part, if you're getting beat, any player could have that. Now, his production at Texas was sensational. I don't know how many times I've said this. We don't need to go back and deep dive every single statistic that Jahdae Barron has put onto the field. He was clearly one of the best corners in college football. I had him ranked as my number one college corner, ahead of guys like Will Johnson and Maxwell Hairston. The one thing that I have to bring as sort of a question mark is his versatility. And it's not a question mark because he can't do it. But the question is, he's so good and he's so versatile. Where do you play him? Because he can play everywhere, including safety, which I think you'll see a rotation at some point throughout the season. Now, if you were to ask me, what's the main guess as to what's going to end up happening with Barron come week 1? Well, my guess is he starts at nickel corner and then potentially slides out to that cornerback 2 position weeks 4, 5, 6, and beyond, But I think what you're going to be looking at week 1 is Jahdae starts at that nickel corner slot, which is his primary position. It's where he feels most comfortable. And that's nothing against Jaquan McMillan, and that's nothing against Riley Moss. But we took this guy in the first round for a reason. We want to see him perform on the field. We want to see him at his most natural. And again, Jaquan McMillan is a very plug-and-play starter. Gave you very decent, solid production. It just so happens that you drafted the best nickel corner in the draft. So, again, is this kind of the raw end of the deal? Yeah, but that's showbiz, baby. You know what I mean? Like, it's just the way it works. It's just the way the NFL is. It's a cutthroat league. So I'm going to ask you to pick your starter for week 1 at the nickel cornerback slot. Jahdae Barron or Jaquan McMillan. Type JB for Jahdae or type JM for Jaquan. Okay, our second positional battle on the offensive side of the ball. RJ Harvey, Jaleel McLaughlin, Audric Estime. Again, this one feels like it's inevitable. This one doesn't feel like it's a matter of if, but a matter of when. So if you look at the current running back depth chart, this is what I currently have right now. This is obviously going to change. I know people have a lot of issue with me pulling McLaughlin as the RB1. But for right now, for Harvey, who has not taken a single NFL snap, putting him in the RB2 position feels like the right decision until we see what he's able to do against the rest of the Broncos team and the NFL. But again, when you draft a player in the second round, and a lot of people considered RJ Harvey to be a reach, you're going to want to see what he's got. So he will play in week 1, and he'll probably get the majority of the carries. But does that necessarily mean that play 1, he's going to be the starter? Not necessarily. I think that's more up in the air. Now, again, a player who doesn't need to, circle back and talk about his exact numbers. They were amazing, right? The one area that sticks out to me besides his rushing yards is that 6.8 yards per carry, which was one of the best in his conference. And last year, let's just take a look at the 2024 season statistics outside of a Javonte Williams. These are the guys that you're still rolling with on your current running back room. This isn't great. So it is assumed to believe that RJ Harvey will become the running back 1 within a short period of time. I expect a running back by committee rotation weeks 1 through 2. Just to dip your toe into the NFL. You see this all the time. Quarterbacks too. I can specifically remember last year when Bo Nix played week 1. You don't give him the full scope of the playbook. You give him what he's comfortable with, ease him in. You don't dive first or head first into the deep end of the pool. You start in the shallow end and you make your way there. So I think Harvey, eventually, week 3, will take over as the lead back, but more of a rotation committee backfield weeks 1 through 2 that'll see even more even splits. So let me know, though, what week will RJ Harvey take over as RB1? I'm penciling it in right now for me as week 3. But if you believe it's earlier than that, let me know. Or if you think it's later, I don't know why you would. Let me know as well in the comment section down below. Now, our last one, also on the offensive side of the ball. Pat Bryant, Marvin Mims, and Devon Vele. Here's the real question. Who is going to take over as wide receiver 2 for the Broncos? That's the pressing question. Courtland Sutton, easily number 1. So let's talk a little bit about Pat Bryant first. 3rd-round pick out of Illinois in a run-first collegiate offense. So I don't feel like the full scope of his skills were really explored that last year in Illinois. Now, The Athletic did go on to say this about the Broncos' positional battles, specifically when it comes to Pat Bryant in the wide receiver room. At wide receiver, can rookie Pat Bryant turn himself into Denver's number 2 target at the position behind Sutton? Second-year players Devon Vele and Troy Franklin will be part of the equation too, and the menu figures to expand even more for speedy asset Marvin Mims Jr. So a little bit more on Pat Bryant before we get into the other guys. I have a feeling that you're going to see Bryant as one of the wide receiver sleepers in this year's draft class. I feel like his skill set is one that just can't be ignored. And Illinois is not known for its powerhouse football style. In fact, it's only recently that Illinois has gotten better in their, college football ways. I can easily remember back to my teenage years when Illinois was struggling to even get 4 wins in their college seasons. So the fact that they have kind of turned it around and are actually kind of a formidable program now is admirable to see. And let's just take a look now at the Broncos wide receiver room from last year. You mean to tell me that year 1, Pat Bryant couldn't go out and get you 50 receptions, over 500 yards, and 4 touchdowns? I'd think you were crazy if you said he couldn't do that. And the pros and cons, because we love a good pros and cons list, is a lot more pro than it is con, in my opinion. He's got great hands. He's unbelievable in contested catches. He's got impressive body control on deeper routes as well. So all of the things that you want to see from a wide receiver prospect, he's got. Now, does he have the best burst and breakaway speed? No, he only ran a 4.61. His after-the-catch ability is not the greatest. But there's only a handful of guys in the NFL that I can name right now that are truly elite with yards after the catch. CeeDee Lamb's probably the one that stands out to me outside of the big 3. The truth is that deciding who wide receiver 2 is going to be tough because all of these players have the ability and offer something different that could end up leading to them being wide receiver 2. Pat Bryant, your more prototypical wide receiver prospect. Marvin Mims is the fast one. Devon Vele can end up becoming the receptions player, the one that, is more of a possessions receiver. But I don't think there's a clear answer. And I don't think you're going to see one, early. I know I left out Troy Franklin there. He'll be one of those guys that you play out of the slot and work over the middle of the field a little bit better just because he's got that smaller size and, a little bit quicker when it comes to right off the line of scrimmage. But any one of those guys that I just named has the ability to do so. It's just going to be a wait and see. It honestly comes down to who Bo Nix gels with the best. Now, there is a model that the Broncos, I feel like, are kind of trending towards, and that's the Green Bay Packers. And I've said this for the last couple of years. The Packers really don't have a solidified wide receiver 2. They've kind of got this wide receiver by committee deal. They've got Romeo Doubs, Christian Watson, Jordan Reed or Jalen Reed, whatever his name is, Bo Melton, Dontavian Wicks. It's just a hodgepodge of really good, no one's elite. So while I think the Broncos have their own version of this, I think that's what you're going to be kind of seeing at the wide receiver 2 position for Denver. So let me know if you had to decide who the wide receiver 2 was going to be this year. Like right now, as we go into OTAs, let me know Pat Bryant, Marvin Mims, or Devon Vele. Type their numbers in the comment section down below. That's going to do it for us on today's episode of Broncos Breakdown by Chat Sports. My name is Moose. Remember to subscribe, like the video, and send this to a Broncos fan in your life. Until next time, be cool. I got to tell you, Dylan, it is so hard to not be able to see the live chat as it goes down. It's so unbelievably difficult because right now I'm just looking at a blank screen. What's going on, everybody? Danny, good to see you, my friend. Hector, good to see you. Sorry about this, guys. I'm trying to do this off my phone right now. If you are just joining us, it has been a hell of a day for me with technology and with Wi-Fi issues. So it's been tough. It has certainly been tough. Hey, by the way, we are less than 300 subscribers away from hitting 36,000 on the channel, which is an unreal number for us. So here's what I'm going to ask you to do as I continue to sit here and try to connect to our live chat. Hit that sub button for me if you haven't already. We've got over 40 people watching right now. We've got 67, actually. If you could, hit that subscribe button for all the best and latest Broncos news and rumors. And once you have subscribed, type me down in the chat below. Dylan and I, because of my Wi-Fi issues, are going to give some shout-outs to the people that have already subbed. So if you've already subbed, type me in the chat below. And once you have hit subscribe, we're going to read off some of those me's that are down in the chat, and we are going to give you a shout-out. Good God, I can't even tell you what's live and what's not right now. Dylan, if you start seeing some me's in the chat, why don't you start giving out some shout-outs while I try to monitor the situation the best I can. I do see Charles. Charles, what's up? He says me. If you have not hit subscribe and then type me. Hector, what's up, dude? Good to see you. Tyler, what's up? Ortiz says me. This is a dead time in the NFL right about now. Obviously, OTAs are the most pressing things that's going on in the NFL world. But the truth is that May, June, and then pretty much all of July is just really, really tough to get any legitimate, concrete reporting done. Just because there's not much that's going on. Mister says me. Jacob says me. Ortiz says me. Once you've hit subscribe, type me in the comment section down below. Oh, man, we're stuck again. Dude, I'll tell you what. Technology has been an absolute bitch to me today. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if I need to throw my computer out a window, but it's just the computer. Eclipse says me. It's like going back and forth, in and out. I don't know if it's trying to connect to another source, Dylan. Ortiz says, hi from South Texas. Tyler says, can I get a job at Chat Sports? Well, have you applied? Because we are hiring. We're going through the interview process right now. All right. Mr. Dilly Dilly, can you put up the List 3 logo real quick of what's coming up next? I appreciate everybody's patience with me today. Like I said, I'm kind of doing this show blind. Obviously, you can see me and can talk to me, and there's nothing wrong on your end. With mine, total issues. Coming up next, some final free agent targets. And the reason I wanted to bring this up was because I made a video and I posted it on Sunday of Broncos trade acquisition targets at the running back position. Well, one of them was a running back. It was Travis Etienne. And a lot of people started talking about J.K. Dobbins down in the chat, saying, why would we trade for somebody when we could go out and sign a player like J.K. Dobbins for much cheaper? And you know what? It's a very, very good point. Now, I did say in the video that I would not be open to trading for Travis Etienne. I think he's way too much of a roller coaster player. But I did spark an idea, and I was like, there are some final free agency targets that I feel like the Broncos could use to round out their roster heading into the 2025 season. Spoilers, running back is definitely on this list. So I'll just let that sit there for just a second. Just a second. All right, Mr. Dillon. How about this? We got 57 people watching. Can we get to 33 likes before we start? That's just 3 more likes. Just 1 more. And then we'll start. 1 more like. Do it for the hard hat. Do it for the hard hat. By the way, bringing this back for watch parties when they start up again this fall, and I'm so excited to get some more names on the Broncos hard hat. Just 1 more like. 1 more like. Did we get it? There it is. We got it. Awesome. Sweet. Sweet, sweet, sweet. Appreciate you guys. So let's get into the final free agent targets before the 2025 season for the Denver Broncos. Is the Broncos roster completely set, or are there some players that we should go out and sign before the 2025 season officially begins? What's up, Broncos country? Welcome into the Broncos Breakdown by Chat Sports. And on today's episode, the top remaining free agents that could fit the Broncos, because obviously there are some that wouldn't fit, but the ones that I believe the Broncos could sign that would completely round out their roster heading into 2025. Let's not waste any time. Let's get into the list. The first guy, everybody's fan favorite, J.K. Dobbins. And the reason I say J.K. Dobbins is because not only has everybody kind of, noted him as a notable free agent that's still out there, but he is a very productive running back when he's on the field. And you'll see here in a little bit, spoilers, that there is a major concern with his ability to stay on the field. But let's take a look at this. He had over 1,000 scrimmage yards in 2024. He missed 4 games last season with a knee injury, and his projected contract would be a 2-year, $8.1 million deal. It's a pretty cheap offer for somebody that, when healthy, can give you solid running back numbers. But the big issue is he can't stay on the field. He's never healthy. In fact, this guy has had a major injury, or at least some form of injury, every single season that he's been in the NFL, whether that's with the Baltimore Ravens, the Los Angeles Chargers. Actually, those are the only 2 teams he's played for. So the Ravens or the Chargers. So let's talk really quickly about Dobbins' injury history, shall we? Let's take it back from when he first entered the league. In 2021, he missed the entire season with a knee injury. Then in October of 2022, tore his ACL. He then tears his Achilles tendon in 2023 on September 10th. And then fast forward all the way to November of last year, an MCL sprain. What's something that you notice here? Every single injury, or at least major injury that he's dealt with, has been to his lower half, either to his knee or down in his Achilles. Now again, in 2024, in 13 games played, very solid numbers. I can't complain about any of these. Averaged a very good yards per carry. 905 rushing yards is nothing to scoff at. Found the end zone a total of 9 times. All of these things are great. But the best ability is availability. And the one thing that I look back at his career numbers while they are good for the amount of time that he's played, you'll notice something. There has not been a single full season in his career. So what makes me think that in 2025, he's going to give you anything less than maybe 10 games played? I don't think he'll ever play a fully healthy season. Listen, it's unfortunate, but when a player is injury-riddled, we saw this with guys like Kevin White. There have been a multitude of players that have dealt with this type of thing from day one that they've entered the league. Dobbins is just one of those players that will battle injuries his entire career. And it's going to be the ultimate reason that his career is cut short. So do I think adding Dobbins to this room, this running back room, currently as it's constructed, is a good thing? Yeah, maybe on paper, and maybe in theory, and if you're a complete optimist, it sounds great. But the truth is that why would I want to sign somebody and pay money to for someone that most likely is not going to give me a fully healthy season? It just doesn't make a lot of sense. And also, I trust RJ Harvey. I trust his ability to take over as the lead back for this team. So no, unfortunately, for those reasons, I wouldn't sign J.K. Dobbins. And I know that, might sound harsh, but that's just the business that we're in. Your best ability is to play a full season. And he has not shown that he can do that at all. So I'll ask you, would you sign J.K. Dobbins? Yes or no? Super simple question. I'm saying no. I have some serious pause about players that not only have injury history, but have not played a full, healthy NFL season. That's just my opinion. My second free agent available that I wanted to kind of target is probably somebody that you've never heard of before. Jonathan Bullard, defensive end from the Minnesota Vikings. Now, why Bullard? Well, he's clearly the top defensive lineman that's still available in free agency. And if you look back at his career, there's not a lot to write home about. He's a former third-round pick by the Bears. He spent the last 3 years with the Vikings, but he did post a career high in tackles for loss in 2024. Now, you're probably wondering, Moose, why the hell is this guy on your list if you don't think that highly of him or if there's not a lot to write home about? Well, the truth is that this wouldn't be a player that starts. This would be a rotational player. Having depth at any position is one of the most underrated values of any professional sports team. I can name every single major sport: baseball, football, basketball. The teams that end up doing the best in the postseason are the teams that have reliable depth and really good starters. It's kind of a nice balance of both. And last year, again, not a lot to write home about. He's not a player that's going to get after the quarterback. So get that out of your mind. He's more going to be a tree stump in the middle of the field. And this could be obviously somebody that I believe could sit behind DJ Jones. Why not? God forbid an injury happens or you need to come out and, you take a breather. This could be a player that you sign for the veteran minimum or a very low contract and just say, hey, give us some decent play here. He could also sit behind John Franklin Myers as well. I'm not saying he has to fit in one particular spot. He doesn't have to be a nose tackle. He could fit anywhere. Maybe you put him behind Zach Allen. But the point is he won't start. He'll just be a rotational piece that the Broncos could end up signing if they so choose to go out and say, hey, we just want to add a little security to our defensive line. Could help in the run game too. That's the big thing. If he can plug up those holes and make sure that that defensive line is solidified with, stopping the run because we don't need any help getting back after the quarterback. I think this could be a player that we could end up signing for a very cheap deal. Now, what would that cheap deal look like? Well, how about this? A 1-year, $5.5 million deal, $3 million guaranteed. You give $2.5 million in incentives. Who says no to that? A $3 million deal for a player who got 7 tackles for loss last year? I think that's a very reasonable price to ask. And look, he obviously was looking for something more, That's probably why he's still on the market right now. But eventually, time's a ticking. You need a job. You want to get on a roster before the 53-man is finalized. So could this be somebody that we, call up post June 1st? Absolutely. I don't see why not. Now, before we get into our last free agent available, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We are less than 300 away from hitting 36,000 on the channel. It would do me a great help here if you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and lock us in as the fastest growing Broncos channel on YouTube. Our final free agent available, somebody that we have talked about as well on the channel before, Nick Chubb. 2 running backs on this list. Moose, you're crazy. Well, not so fast, my friend. Nick Chubb, I thought for sure, had a deal lined up with the Chicago Bears like yesterday. Nothing's happened. Now, maybe they're waiting for post-June 1st, but something tells me that the further and further we get along, the less confidence I have in the Bears' ability to sign this guy. Now, remember, prior to the injuries, Nick Chubb was a top 5 back in the NFL. I'll repeat that one more time in case you didn't hear me correctly. He was a top 5 back in the NFL. Those knee injuries, those leg injuries, some serious stuff. Plus his broken foot. It's not a good look. I don't think Nick Chubb's ever going to be the same Nick Chubb that he was before. But the last 4 seasons would indicate that even if he's 80%, 75% of the player that he once was, you're still getting 1,000 yards a season. And Broncos country knows that after last year, what we rolled out with our running back situation, we would gladly take a 1,000-yard rusher. Now, Mary Kay Cabot, she is a Browns beat reporter. She kind of covers them exclusively along with some basic NFL stuff. She signified that the end of the era in Cleveland it's pretty much upon us. There's no shot Nick Chubb's going back. In fact, Andrew Berry, the Browns GM, kind of said point blank, it's never going to happen. We're not bringing him back. We wish him the best. He's been an amazing part of this team, an amazing part of our culture, but unfortunately, we have to move on. They also drafted 2 running backs in the 2025 NFL draft, so if that just tells you anything, they're done with him. Now, his injury history is also nothing that you can kind of gloss over. Earlier on, that left calf strain, it's not that big of a deal. The injured ribs, yeah, you can get over. But it's the last 2 that really stand out to me and kind of cause me to wince a little bit. He had an MCL and a meniscus tear in 2023. And then last year, when he gets back onto the field and seemingly is trying to get back into the groove, the old Nick Chubb way, he breaks his foot. That's just a major setback. And I'm sure I couldn't imagine his frustration. You come back from one serious injury only to have another really bad one. Look, Chubb is the most talented running back left on the market. But is he going to be the same player? I don't think so. It is kind of a rhetorical question, but I'm going to answer it anyway. He's not. Now, does that mean he won't be 75 or 80%, like I said, of the player that he once was? Sure. We can agree to disagree. We can split hairs on that. But what does that look like? And does that involve the Broncos in any way, shape, or form? Again, you could make the argument that both of those running backs that I listed are players that you don't want to target because of their injury history. And that's okay. I totally I understand your point. And if you think that we can just ride along with, what we've got currently in the running back room, that's fine too. I don't think there's a right solution here. I think you can go with either pick and then reevaluate after the 2025 season. But let me know if you would pick any of these ones, JK for J.K. Dobbins or NC for Nick Chubb. That's going to do it for us on today's episode of Broncos Breakdown by Chat Sports. Remember to subscribe. Help us get to 36,000 subs. It's going to help us out a lot. Like the video, and as always, be cool. Whoo! Bingo, bango, bongo. It's getting hot in here again, Dilly. It's getting hot in here again. All right, here's a cool question that I wanted to ask Broncos country because we got 62 people watching right now. Who was the Broncos starting quarterback when you were 10 years old? Think about when you were 10. What year was that? For me, it was 2006. Jake Plummer and Jay Cutler, actually. It was a dual year there, Dilly. Jay Cutler came in the final 2 years. God, I cannot believe that. I'm dating myself. That feels like forever ago. Who is the Broncos starting quarterback? I'm going to give some shout outs down in the chat below. Let me know. (2006), Jake Plummer, Jay Cutler. But who was it for you when you were 10 years old? Let me know right now. I'm going to start giving some shout outs. Super Dave says John Elway. Elway. I have a feeling we're going to see a lot of Elways, Dilly. How about you, Dilly? When was your birthday? Or so you were born in 2002?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, you are young. Peyton Manning?
Yeah.
Dude.
In 2012.
Jake the Snake. LOLOL says XYZ. Craig Morton? Drew Lock? Wow, Jackson's young. Jackson's really young. Greg says Don Horn. Yours was Peyton Manning, Dylan? Good God, man. Peyton, Ortiz. Jeez Louise. We have a lot of babies in the chat right now. Keep going. I'm going to give out some more shout outs as you go along. Was in 2012? Yeah. That first year that he was with Denver, he was unbelievable. I mean, it was just like those first couple of years, he was just incredible. Jay Cutler. There you go. So Anthony's about my age. Because what would that have been, Anthony? Like 2008? Right? Because Cutler came in 2006. So his first full season of starting was 2007. Jackson says, I'm 15. That's not young. Brother, that is the very definition of young. You're in high school. That's young. Hell, even people that are in college right now, I still consider. Dylan, you're young. And you're what, 22? Oh, yeah, excuse me, 23. My bad. Off by 1 year. Off by 1 year. Brian Greasy, yep. There you go. All right. Let's get that weigh-in up of hashtag Broncos real quick. We are 49 minutes in as we speak. Remember, if you want to super chat, that's greatly appreciated. Obviously, it skips the line. You'll be featured front and center on our Broncos mailbag, which goes out pretty much every single weekend. But again, if you need to ask a question or you want to ask a question, hashtag Broncos or super chat. How are we looking right now, Dilly, on questions? Ooh, that's not good. We need way more questions. So while we get more questions in, I'm going to ask every single person that's in the chat right now, hashtag Broncos or super chat, ask your questions for today's mailbag. I'm going to start calling out people. Jackson, I want one from you. Anthony, I want one from you. UMC Smoke from you. Ortiz, I want one from you. Greg, I want one from you. T-Mac, one from you. Chris, one from you. And while we do that, how about another impression? How about another impression? Ah, there it is. All right, we don't want to do another plankton one. So give it the old spin. What? No, we'll just respin it if it lands on it one more time. Go for it. Tick, 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 tick. SpongeBob from the same show. Okay, the SpongeBob one is actually more of a micro impression. It's only the laugh that I think I can, like, kind of get down. So I'm going to try it real quick. Here we go. Was that one better than my plankton one?
I think it started off good, but then it kind of tailed off at the end a bit.
Did it?
Yeah.
So like what, a 5 out of 10, do you think? A little bit less? Dylan?
No, I'd say like 5-6.
5-6? Okay.
Like, I would say it's somewhat near your plankton.
Okay, yeah. I'll take that. That's not bad at all. That is not bad at all. Zach says 88. Get your questions in, guys. Hashtag Broncos really quick. There we go. We're starting to see a little bit more. Zach, I'm going to ask that you give a question as well using hashtag Broncos. How many do we have now, my friend? Ooh, yeah, guys, we need way more questions. We need to get to at least 10 questions before we start our mailbag. See, Super Dave said it was the perfect impression. Dilly, I think you're just trying to keep me down. I'm listening to the people. A couple more questions, guys, before we start our mailbag episode. Couple more. We're up to what? 7 questions? I think we've got more coming. I think it's like on a delay. How much, what's the time that you have it set for? Is it 60 or 10? Okay. Couple more questions, guys. Let's get 2 more questions in before we start our mailbag. 2 more questions. Mister, that's a great question. Hashtag Broncos. You have to use it. Can you do Patrick? Can we say shoes from Texas or dumb? It's not good. I don't have that deep of a voice. There we go. All right. 1 more and then we'll start. 1 more question and we'll start. Welcome in if you are just joining us, by the way. I'm doing this on my phone because it's the only thing that gets good Wi-Fi connection for me. For whatever reason, my computer cannot connect back here. We're going to try and figure it out throughout the week, but for right now, everything is frozen on my computer, so I'm kind of doing the show blind as I look down at my phone to get your guys' comments. All right, we got it. Boom. There we go. All right, Dilly, let's start it. All right. Broncos mailbag time to get your questions in with hashtag Broncos or Super Chat. What's up, Broncos country? Welcome into the mailbag edition of Broncos Breakdown Live, which airs live every single Tuesday at 4 p.m. Central Time, 3 p.m. Mountain Time. Now, before we get into our questions, do me a huge favor. Boom, boom. Smash that thumbs up button. Helps us put more Broncos content on your timeline. And I know that as we get closer and closer to the season, you want to see all of the Broncos content. Let's get into the questions, shall we? UMC Smoke. Do you see Denver being the number 1 defense this season? Yes, I do. But not in every single statistical category. Does that make sense? I think we're going to have the best pass rush again. I think we're going to have a top 5 secondary. I don't necessarily know how we're going to fare off against the run. I would say top 7. So all of those things kind of combined, and then you divide it by 3, you'd probably be looking at the number 1 overall defense. I can't think of a single defensive unit in the entirety of the NFL that has as good of defensive personnel at every single unit. Pass rush, secondary, linebacking core, defensive line, all of what the Broncos are rolling out in 2025 is going to be, as a whole in the NFL, the best in the NFL. But I don't necessarily know that every single individual category will be number one. Does that make sense? UMC Smoke, appreciate your question. Thanks for asking it, my friend. Danny, fan favorite of the show. If Moose had an open checkbook, what available free agent would he sign before the season? That is a great question. I'd probably say out of all of the ones that are left, I'd probably end up going with Nick Chubb. And the reason I say that is because when healthy, I mean fully 100% healthy, he's a top 5 back. Now, with the recent injuries that he's had, he probably won't ever be the same player that he once was. But an 80% version of Nick Chubb is still an excellent player. 1,000 yards rushing, basically from the start. So if I had to, say, hey, what's it going to take to get you here? That would be the one player, the one big splash signing that I would go with, Nick Chubb. Thank you, Danny, for your question. Appreciate it. Ortiz. Have we really done enough for Bo in the weapons category? That's a loaded question, I think. I appreciate you asking it, but I'm going to take the viewpoint of this. How do we know what we really have with how young this wide receiver core is? There are still a lot of unknowns and unprovenness right now in this Broncos wide receiver room. On the one hand, the only proven commodity is Courtland Sutton. On the other hand, the potential to be great is limitless for players like Marvin Mims, Devon Vele, Troy Franklin, Pat Bryant. So I don't think we can actually answer that question yet because we don't know what kind of player is going to be what. These are still young kids that are still adapting to the speed of the game. Now, if you were to ask me, out of all of those players, who do I think has the best potential to stand out? It's Marvin Mims. Hands down. From what we saw in the back half and the latter half of last year, Marvin Mims has the ability to not only be a great special teams threat, but a player that can stretch the field vertically, that can be a big-time playmaker. So I'm going to leave that question kind of up in the air at this point. It's a little open-ended. But again, Ortiz, appreciate you asking it. Thanks for getting on the show, my friend. Loud noises. Which running back will lead the AFC West by the end of the season in rushing? Optimistically, RJ Harvey. Realistically, and there's a lot of good running backs in this division. Ashton Genty right now for the Raiders, Omarion Hampton, Najee Harris. You got RJ Harvey, Isaiah Pacheco is still really good. Realistically, I'll go with Genty. But I think it's a lot closer than people think. Optimistically, it's RJ Harvey. I think you're going to see a three-headed monster in the AFC West between Omarion Hampton, RJ Harvey, and Ashton Genty. Those three, the top 3 running backs, in my opinion, that were in the running back, draft class in 2025 are all in the same division. So it's going to be a very, very scary division this year, but it's going to make for some great football, don't you think? Thanks for asking the question. Loud noises, appreciate it. Anthony, also not a Broncos-related question, but how are you taking the transition into being the host, Moose? Wow. This might be the very first question that I've gotten about me. Anthony, I really appreciate this question. I'm going to be honest with you. It's a lot of fun, and I have a lot of passion surrounding this team. I'm very excited about covering this team. Change is never easy for a lot of people, and I'd be lying if I said that, a lot of people haven't been used to Matthew Peterson, and I get that. I totally understand a person that has built a rapport with you guys over the last 3 years. So it is going to take some time for people to get used to me. I totally get that. I just hope that, you and I, not only you, Anthony, but Broncos country, as a whole, can grow together and find that, this new era of Broncos Breakdown by Chat Sports is great in its own right, not only from what PD has built, but from what I can do taking it forward into the next steps. And my goal is to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of the football season. It's a lofty goal, but I'm a, lofty goal kind of guy. So Anthony, again, appreciate you asking the question. That is a very, very considerate thing to ask. Appreciate it, my friend. Before we get into more questions, look at this brand new item that we have on Fanatics. All you got to do, start shopping with our friends at Fanatics today. This hoodie is 40% off, just by going to chatsports.com/Broncos hoodie. But it's not just hoodies, it's jerseys, it's jerseys, hats, gloves, anything that you need to gear up for the 2025 season, you can do with this link that I've put in the comments and description of today's video. Jackson, do you think PS2 can run it back for Defensive Player of the Year? Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Listen, tell me a player that's better, objectively, at the cornerback position than Pat Surtain. I'll wait. Spoiler, you can't, because there is nobody. The only player that I think you can argue is up there in terms of production is Derek Stingley. And even he, I don't think, has the skill set to match what Pat Surtain does. He does everything well. There is not a single flaw in his game, in my opinion. We are watching a Hall of Fame player develop before our very eyes. And I love seeing him play every single week. So absolutely he can run it back. Now, the one thing you have to ask yourself is, is he going to stay healthy throughout the entirety of his career? And that's a question mark for every single player in the NFL, not just Pat Surtain. But next year, fully healthy, hell yeah, for sure. I'm just existing. Do you think RJ Harvey will split reps or get a full start by midseason? By midseason, he'll be getting the full start. The first couple of weeks, I think he splits reps, and here's why. To dip your toe into the NFL waters is something that I believe is severely underrated. You want to get a feel for how fast the game is played and how athletic defensive players are. Just like any quarterback. Do you remember last year when Bo made his start? You don't give him the full scope of the playbook week one. You call a specific set of plays and you say, here's what it's going to look like. Here's what the speed's going to feel like. Stay on script, and as you progress, we're going to add more and more to your plate. So I think what you're going to see is a running back by committee room the first 2 weeks. You're going to see Sean Payton try to divvy up the workload as evenly as possible. That doesn't mean that Harvey won't be involved in the game plan. He absolutely will. But I think by week 3 or week 4, you're really going to see him take the brunt force of all of the carries and get that full start by week 3 or week 4. Thanks you. Take 2. Thank you. I'm just existing for asking your question. Lambo, cool name, by the way. What do you think Bo Nix's stats will be this year? Me personally is 33 passing touchdowns, 4,200 yards, and 270 rushing yards with 3 touchdowns. Actually, I answered a question very similar to this last week on our mailbag. I said 4,000 yards, so just over 4,000 yards, probably 4,060, 33 passing touchdowns, and 9 interceptions. I'm going to stick with my claim. And by the way, can we just all take that in for a second? Those would be incredible numbers. I don't know if those are MVP candidate numbers, but they're up there for sure. Those are top 6 numbers in the NFL. Name a player. I don't think I can name 5 players off the top of my hand that had more than 30 touchdowns last year, passing touchdowns. So I think Bo Nix has the talent, the capability, and the understanding of this offense to really be a special, special player. So just over 4,000 yards, 33 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. Rushing yards, it's a little bit harder to predict because Bo doesn't do a lot of designed runs. It's more of, take off when the play breaks down and use your legs to scramble to get a first down. So I can't really, prognosticate on that, but I'll stick with my original answer. Chris, can you rate your comfort level for our wide receiver room? With 10 being the most comfortable that I could potentially feel and 1 being I don't trust anybody. 6.5. 6.5 right now. As we get closer and closer to the season and we get OTAs and mandatory minicamp, I'm sure that number will go up, especially as we get more reports coming out. Excuse me. As of right now, I would say I'm slightly above average. I'm very optimistic that one of these players outside of Courtland Sutton will take the next step and become the solidified wide receiver 2. I don't know when that's going to be, though. Mister, going into the 2025 season, Susan, would you be disappointed with less than a top 5 defensive rating? Yes. Yeah. 100%. You don't go from being first in the NFL in sacks last year to anything less than top 5. Now, the only way that I would disagree with my statement that I just gave you would be if there were massive injuries, because you can't do anything about that. Like the Lions last year had a very good defense, but at one point were missing like 9 starters. Well, can you really blame them for that? It's just the way it fell. It's just the way it happened, and it sucks. But if all players are healthy, or the majority of players, I should say, are healthy, and we don't have a top 5 defensive rating, something went wrong. And then you have to start asking Vance Joseph, what the hell was the problem here? Top 10 is probably like the least that I would go. That's like the very bottom of what I'm predicting for this team, although with the top end being number 1 in the league. So anywhere in between that is fine. Thanks, mister, for asking your question. That's going to do it for us on today's mailbag edition of the Broncos Breakdown by Chat Sports. Remember, like the video, subscribe if you haven't, and send this to a Broncos fan in your life. Until next time, my name is Moose. Be cool. Bang! Got it again. Sweet! Appreciate you guys tuning in. Awesome, awesome show. Again, I apologize for all of the technical difficulties. We're going to answer a couple of questions here before we take off. Mr. Dilly, do you have any questions right now? Oh, by the way, if you could give me a sweet little follow on X, I would greatly appreciate it. I just created my new X account, and it's been up now for a couple of months, but really now just starting to get into the bulk of tweeting Broncos content as I take over in my first couple of weeks here as the Broncos host. Any questions for you, Dilly, that I can answer? Do you want to do one more impression? Let's do one more impression. Let's get the impression wheel up one more time. We'll do one more impression before we go. Is there anyone in particular that you guys want to see, everybody that's still watching right now? We have 54 people watching. Let me know in the comment section down below, and we'll see if we can make it happen. Content wheel. There it is. Boom. Is there anyone that you want to hear specifically, Producer Dylan? Yeah, Kermit the Frog here. Miss Piggy. Did you like that one? Yeah, it's back the way you came. And I think to myself, what a wonderful way. Yeah, spin it again. We already did the Plankton one. Spin again. Alrighty. Herbert the Pervert? I could do that one. If you guys watch, Jackson said Trump. Do we do the Trump one just for shits and gigs? Get on the mic and just say what you just said. That might be the smartest thing you've ever said in your entire life. Go ahead one more time, Dilly, for the people.
I think you should do all of them back to back to back. I don't know what you guys think.
All right, how about this? I'll give you 2 of them. You know what? I'll do Kermit, I'll do Trump, and I'll do Herbert. I just did the Kermit one, so we'll save that for last. But we'll do the Trump one. The Trump one's one of my favorite ones to do. In fact, you should hear me walk around the house. My fiance gets so mad. She's like, "Can you shut up? You've been doing that for an hour." So let's see if I can think of something to talk about here as Trump. Frankly, I really love the Broncos Breakdown. I really do. I think this team is really great. There's not many teams that are much better than this team, okay? I'm a big fan. I will dip this team in gold and make the Chiefs pay for all of it, okay, frankly? You didn't like that one, Dilly. I can tell by your face. Hey, Chris. I got a whole freezer just full of popsicles. Why don't you come on down to the cellar? I'm just existing says, fiance. Yes, I am engaged. And spoilers to everybody who is still watching right now, all 40 of you. I will not be doing the very first Broncos live watch party against the Titans week 1 because I'm getting married that weekend. It's up in Minnesota where my fiance is from. So, and this was planned, a year and a half ago before I even took a job at Chat Sports. So obviously I can't do anything about it, but weeks 2 through weeks whatever until the Super Bowl, basically, I'm going to be here doing every single Broncos game for you guys. But that's the one prior commitment that I have is I get married on September 5th, and I will not be back until that following week, obviously with my mini honeymoon that I'm going on as well. UMC Smoke, which one are you laughing at? Which one did you actually think was good? That's the question. The Trump was funny, says Jackson. Thank you, appreciate that. He said you should randomly do this in the middle of an episode. Just say different voices. Just be like talking about, Courtland Sutton's contract extension is really expensive, okay? I'm telling you right now. Probably the most expensive player in the entirety of the NFL. Not as expensive as me, though. I cost the most. Dingus says, is Court a top 15? Yeah, top 20 for sure. All right, one last ask of you. Hit that sub button. Thank you, UMC. I appreciate that, man. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. We're going to end today's episode by saying make sure you hit that sub button. It's free. Like the video. Share this with a Broncos friend in your life. Excuse me, I've got the hiccups. And as always, be cool.